Imagine you're watching someone just frantically feed quarters into a slot machine,
Right.
just desperately pulling the lever, hoping for this massive jackpot. But as they're standing there, totally mesmerized by the flashing lights, they're completely ignoring a gaping hole in their pocket.
Yeah, where all their cash is just steadily draining out onto the casino floor.
Exactly. It is a really painful visual, but honestly, it captures the reality of how millions of people manage their personal finances.
It really does. And it's a trap so many fall into without even realizing it.
So today, we're pulling from a massive stack of sources for this deep dive to figure out why this happens and, more importantly, how to fix it. We are cross-referencing Vanguard's latest behavioral research on financial psychology with this really comprehensive masterclass by the financial strategist Nick Invests.
Which is phenomenal, by the way.
It is, and the overarching consensus from all this material is that people constantly throw money at, like, trendy stocks or crypto, trying to hit that jackpot, all while carrying something crazy like 22% credit card debt.
Yeah, they want the fun stuff, but ignore the bleeding.
Right. So today's mission is to flip that script for you. We are going to decode the mathematically optimal sequence for investing your money.
And we should clarify, this isn't just a generic list of, good habits.
No, not at all. It's a highly specific, step-by-step order of operations that can literally save you tens of thousands of dollars and completely accelerate your path to financial independence.
Because the sequencing really is the entire secret. I mean, most people want to skip straight to the dopamine hits, right?
Oh, for sure. Picking individual stocks, checking their portfolio on their phone every single hour to see if the line went up.
Exactly. They want to ignore the boring foundational work. But building wealth requires a structural integrity that, frankly, most people just lack.
Like building a house.
Yes. You don't install luxury granite countertops if your foundation is cracked and the roof is caving in. If you get the order of operations wrong, you are essentially building your entire financial life on quicksand.
So let's start pouring that foundation, which begins with step one, stopping the bleeding. And our sources hit us right out of the gate with a truly jarring statistic about the American safety net.
Yeah, this one is tough to read.
1 in 3 Americans does not have an emergency fund whatsoever. And for those who actually do have one, the median amount saved is a mere $500.
Which, by the way, the data notes is actually down from $600 just a year ago.
Right. I mean, $500 barely covers a new set of tires, let alone a real emergency.
But we have to look beyond just the raw math here, and really understand the psychological return on investment that an emergency fund provides.
It's not just a pile of cash sitting in a high-yield savings account losing slightly to inflation.
Exactly. It is a psychological buffer. When life inevitably throws a curveball, say the transmission on your car blows, or you get laid off, or you have an unexpected medical bill.
Which happens to everyone eventually.
Right. That fund prevents you from doing something mathematically destructive. It stops you from liquidating your retirement investments at a 20% loss during a market downturn, or worse, putting a $5,000 emergency on a credit card that charges you through the nose in interest.
It fundamentally changes your decision-making bandwidth. Because if you're terrified of a single unexpected bill, you just make short-term, panic-driven financial decisions.
The Vanguard research in our source stack actually quantifies this beautifully.
Yep.
They measured various financial factors and found that people who have at least $2,000 in emergency savings have financial well-being scores 21% higher than those with no emergency fund.
21%. Just from $2,000.
Yeah, that was the single largest boost linked to any financial factor they measured. I mean, $2,000 isn't exactly quit your job and retire to a private island money.
Not quite, no.
But the psychological safety it creates allows you to actually stick to a long-term investment strategy without constantly panicking.
The hurdle for most people, though, is that classic advice to, save 6 months of expenses. I mean, when you're living paycheck to paycheck, hearing that you need $20,000 in cash is completely paralyzing.
Oh, it's totally overwhelming, which is why the execution has to be staggered.
Right. The strategy outlined here is to save your first $1,000 as quickly as humanly possible. Sell things, pick up extra shifts, whatever it takes.
Because that covers the minor, annoying emergencies.
Exactly. Then you build that up to 1 full month of baseline living expenses. And only after that do you target the traditional 3 to 6 months. And you really have to tailor that to your specific life.
Yeah, risk tolerance plays a huge role here.
Like if you have a highly stable government job with a pension and great benefits, 3 months of expenses might be a perfectly adequate shield. But if you're a freelance graphic designer in a highly volatile industry with zero corporate safety net.
You really need to be aggressively pushing toward that 6-month mark.
So once that baseline safety net is established, you've stopped the potential for new emergencies to ruin you. This immediately opens up the opportunity to attack the existing damage.
Step 2, high interest debt.
Yeah. Trying to invest your money in the stock market while you're carrying credit card debt is, it's basically like trying to fill a swimming pool with a garden hose while the main drain at the bottom is wide open.
That is the perfect analogy.
You feel like you're doing the right thing by pouring water in, but the math guarantees you're never actually going to fill the pool.
Yeah.
Anything charging you over 8% annually is essentially a financial parasite.
And credit cards right now are currently averaging well over 22%.
It's insane. You are expending an enormous amount of capital just to rent the money you already spent.
Yes, exactly.
I do want to push back on this, though, because it's a very common dilemma for people. Let's say the S&P 500 is having a massive historic bull run. We see years where the market is up 18, 20, maybe 25%.
Okay.
If I have an extra $1,000, shouldn't I try to capture those massive market gains instead of just paying down a boring static credit card bill?
I get it. The allure of a bull market is incredibly strong, but the raw mathematics heavily favor killing the debt. When you pay off a credit card that charges 22% interest, you are effectively locking in a guaranteed 22% return on your money.
And that's tax-free, right?
Tax-free, zero risk. There is no stock, bond, or real estate investment on earth that promises you a guaranteed 22% return with zero risk. Let's look at the opportunity cost.
Okay, let's hear the math.
If you hold $5,000 in credit card debt at 22% and you only make the minimum payments, you will pay nearly $2,800 just in interest over 5 years.
Wow. Over half the original balance is just evaporated into thin air. You didn't buy anything new with that $2,800.
No, you just paid for the privilege of keeping the debt alive.
Right.
That is capital that could have been compounding for you in the market, but instead, compound interest is actively working against you.
This is exactly why the sources advocate for the debt avalanche method, isn't it?
Yes, the avalanche method. You list all your bets, pay the absolute minimums on everything, and then channel every single extra dollar you have at the debt with the highest interest rate.
Which mathematically saves you far more money than the debt snowball method.
Right, the snowball is where you pay off the smallest balances first for a quick psychological win. And that works for some people, but we are optimizing for math here. The avalanche method eliminates the most expensive friction first.
So the math says attack the highest interest rate relentlessly. But right as you commit to this avalanche method, the source material introduces a massive glaring loophole.
Oh, this is crucial.
There's one specific scenario that actually forces you to interrupt the debt payoff phase.
Yes, the employer match. If your employer offers a matching contribution to your 401k or workplace retirement plan, you must contribute enough to capture that full match, regardless of your credit card debt.
It's the equivalent of walking down the street to the bank to pay a past due bill, and you see a crisp $20 bill lying on the sidewalk. You don't just ignore the free money because you're focused on paying the bill.
No, you pick it up. If your company offers a match, they are instantly turning your $20 into $40.
The math behind capturing that free money is just undeniable. I mean, let's say your salary is $50,000 a year, and your employer matches 50 cents on the dollar up to 6% of your salary.
Okay, so if you contribute $3,000 to your 401k, your employer deposits an additional $1,500 into your account.
That is an immediate, guaranteed 50% return on your investment on day one before the market even fluctuates.
Exactly. You simply cannot find a 50% guaranteed return anywhere else in the financial world.
There is a catch, though, which the sources highlight as a major blind spot for employees, and that's the vesting schedule.
Yeah, vesting schedules act as golden handcuffs. The company deposits the matching funds into your account, but you don't actually own that money until you've worked there for a specified period.
So if your company has a 3-year cliff vesting schedule, and you leave the job after 2 years and 11 months.
They take back every single penny of that match. It's brutal.
Oh, man. But generally speaking, the sheer power of an employer match makes it a required step. The strategy here is highly targeted, right? You contribute just enough to capture the maximum match and not a single penny more.
Precisely. Once that free money is secured, you take all your remaining cash flow and redirect it aggressively back to the debt avalanche until the high-interest debt is entirely eradicated.
Okay, so let's check in on where we are. At this point, the structural foundation is rock solid. The emergency fund is shielding you, the high-interest debt is dead, and you're capturing the free employer match.
Which is a great place to be.
It really is.
Yeah.
So we finally reach the moment where you have a free dollar to truly, invest. I would assume that you just keep pouring money into that employer 401k because it's automated. It comes right out of your paycheck. It's out of sight and out of mind.
That's what most people do.
But the sources explicitly pivot away from the 401k here. They direct that next dollar into an IRA, an individual retirement account. Is this pivot strictly about escaping the limited investment menus that corporate plans force on you?
It is entirely about taking back control and escaping exorbitant fees. Corporate 401k plans are notorious for offering a very limited selection of mutual funds.
Right.
And these funds often carry management fees, known as expense ratios, that can hover around 1 to 2% annually. An IRA, which you open independently at a brokerage, gives you the entire universe of investments.
So you can buy low-cost index funds or exchange-traded funds.
Exactly, with fees of just a few basis points, meaning tiny fractions of a single percent.
Now, a 1 or 2% fee sounds completely harmless to the average earner. It sounds like a rounding error. But it operates exactly like termites in a wooden house.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
You don't see the damage day to day. You don't wake up on a Tuesday and notice the floorboards sagging. But over 3 decades, those tiny, invisible bites hollow out the entire structural integrity of your wealth.
It really does.
A 1% difference in fees on a growing portfolio over 30 years can literally siphon off tens of thousands of dollars. You are essentially sacrificing years of your own retirement just to buy your mutual fund manager a luxury vehicle.
It's painful when you look at the math. The compounding effect of fees is one of the most destructive forces in investing. By shifting to an IRA, you cut those fees to the bone. And for 2025, the contribution limit for an IRA is $7,000.
Or $8,000 if you're 50 or older.
Yes, the catch-up contribution, which allows you to accelerate your savings as you approach retirement age.
But opening that IRA forces you to make an immediate, permanent decision that trips up almost everyone. You have to choose between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA.
Right, the classic tax dilemma. This boils down to mapping out your lifetime tax brackets. Do you want to pay the IRS today, or do you want to pay them decades from now?
Okay, so let's break that down.
With a traditional IRA, your contributions are tax deductible today. If you make $80,000 and contribute $7,000 to a traditional IRA, the government only taxes you as if you made $73,000.
So you lower your current tax burden.
Exactly. But you will pay ordinary income tax on every dollar you withdraw in retirement. The Roth IRA is the exact opposite.
You get no tax deduction today.
Right. You pay taxes on your full income, put the after-tax money into the Roth, but then it grows completely tax-free, and you pull it out in retirement completely tax-free.
The rule of thumb here requires some self-awareness about your career trajectory. Like, if you are young or currently working in an entry-level position in a lower income bracket, the Roth is generally the mathematically superior choice.
Because you are in your lowest earning years, meaning your current tax rate is low.
Right. You lock in that low rate today and enjoy decades of tax-free compounding. Conversely, if you are a high earner at the absolute peak of your career and you are getting crushed by taxes.
A traditional account acts as a shield to reduce your immediate tax liability.
But what if you just don't know? Like if your future tax bracket is a total mystery to you.
Then the most strategic approach is tax diversification. By holding both traditional and Roth accounts, you give your future self levers to pull. In retirement, you can carefully mix your withdrawals from taxable and tax-free buckets to keep your overall tax rate incredibly low.
That makes total sense. Okay, so we've sheltered our income from taxes in retirement, but our sources point out a massive blind spot that derails even the most meticulously planned retirements. And that is medical bills.
Yeah, healthcare costs are a retirement killer.
Which leads to this bizarre loophole in the sequence. Once the IRA is maxed out, the very next vehicle isn't even a traditional retirement account. It's a health savings account, or an HSA.
The HSA is genuinely the Swiss Army knife of the American tax code. It is the single account in existence that offers a triple tax advantage. Triple. First, the money you put in is tax deductible, reducing your taxable income today just like a traditional IRA. Second, the money inside the account can be invested in the stock market and grows completely tax-free.
Okay.
Third, and most importantly, any withdrawals you make to pay for qualified medical expenses are completely tax-free. It avoids taxes on the way in, during growth, and on the way out. No other account does all three.
That's wild. For 2025, the limits are $4,300 for an individual and $8,550 for a family.
Yeah.
But the barrier to entry is that you must be enrolled in a high-deductible health plan to be legally eligible to open one.
Correct. The government originally created this to help people cover high out-of-pocket medical costs.
But the sources reveal a completely hacker-level strategy for how to exploit this account. And the strategy is, do not spend the HSA money on your medical bills today.
Right, which completely inverts the intended use of the account.
It really does. It's essentially building a financial time capsule. Here's the mechanism. You go to the doctor today for a routine procedure. Instead of swiping your HSA debit card to pay the bill, you pay for it out of pocket from your normal checking account.
But you meticulously save that medical receipt.
Yes. You let the funds inside your HSA stay invested in index funds, compounding year after year. The IRS currently has no time limit on when you can reimburse yourself for a medical expense.
Which is the key to the whole strategy.
Exactly. So 20 or 30 years from now, you can hand in a shoebox full of decades-old receipts and pull that compounded money out of the HSA completely tax-free.
The compounding math behind this delayed reimbursement strategy is just staggering. If you max out your HSA contributions for 30 years and achieve a conservative 7% annualized return, you will accumulate over $400,000 in completely tax-free capital.
Over 400 grand.
Yes. And this is critical because Fidelity estimates that the average couple retiring today will spend over $300,000 on healthcare costs throughout their retirement.
So this one obscure account single-handedly neutralizes the most terrifying threat to a retiree's nest egg.
It really does.
But what if you are incredibly lucky, and you stay perfectly healthy and never accumulate hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical receipts?
The tax code provides a safety valve for that, too. Once you turn 65, the HSA effectively morphs into a traditional IRA. You can withdraw the funds for any non-medical reason, buying a vacation home, traveling, everyday living expenses, and you simply pay normal income tax on the withdrawal with no penalties.
Wow.
It is an asymmetrical bet where you win either way.
Okay, we have to take a breath here and just look at what we've built.
It's a lot.
The emergency fund is shielding us. The 22% debt is gone. The free employer match is generating guaranteed returns. The IRA is legally hiding money from the IRS. And the HSA is silently building a tax-free medical fortress.
It's a beautiful sequence.
It is. And only now, with all these superpowered tax shelters completely full, do the sources advise us to circle back to the employer 401k.
Right. This is where you pour your remaining capital to top off the 401k up to the maximum legal limit, which for 2025 is $23,500.
Or $31,000 if you're 50 or older.
Exactly. And if you possess the cash flow to reach this stage, maxing the IRA, the HSA, and the 401k, you are sheltering over $35,000 a year from the federal government. Achieving this puts you firmly in the top 5% of savers in America.
Which brings us to the final frontier, the Wild West of investing. Taxable brokerage accounts. This is the realm where you can buy individual tech stocks, trade options, buy cryptocurrency. And there are absolutely zero limits on how much money you could deposit.
True.
My immediate thought is, if these accounts offer total flexibility, zero contribution limits, and you can withdraw the money whenever you want without age penalties, why on earth are they placed dead last in this optimal sequence?
2 words. Tax drag. It is the ultimate enemy of wealth accumulation. Because these accounts offer zero tax protections, the IRS taxes every single taxable event that occurs inside them.
So every time a company pays you a dividend, you owe taxes on it that year.
Yep. Every time you rebalance your portfolio and sell a stock for a profit, you owe capital gains taxes. It is the financial equivalent of trying to run a marathon while someone continuously shovels sand into your shoes.
Ouch.
You are still moving forward, you're still making money, but the friction is drastically slowing down your momentum.
The sources map out the math on this friction. And honestly, it is painful to process. If you invest $10,000 a year for 30 years at a 7% return in a tax-advantaged account like a Roth IRA, you end up with roughly $944,000.
A massive nest egg.
But if you execute that exact same investment strategy and a standard taxable account, the annual tax drag pulls your final portfolio balance down to about $700,000.
It's devastating.
You surrender nearly $250,000 of your wealth simply because you chose the wrong type of account to hold the exact same assets.
That friction is exactly why the taxable account is the absolute last bucket you fill. However, they do serve a highly specific strategic purpose once everything else is overflowing.
Like what?
Well, because they don't have the age 59.5 restriction that retirement accounts have, taxable accounts are the perfect vehicle for bridge funding.
Oh, like for the FIRE movement financial independence, retire early.
Exactly. If you want to quit working at age 45, you need a pool of capital to live on for 15 years before you can legally touch your 401k. The taxable account provides that bridge. It's also the ideal vehicle for massive, medium-term goals, like accumulating a $200,000 down payment for a house over a 10-year horizon.
This entire deep dive really redefines what it means to be good with money. It is an interconnected wealth machine where every step protects and funds the next.
It is perfectly engineered.
Step 1, the emergency fund, protects you from backsliding. Step 2 destroys the high-interest debt dragging you down, utilizing the employer match to accelerate your net worth. Step 3 and 4, the IRA and the HSA, build impenetrable shields around your money so the government can't touch its growth.
Step 5 maximizes your workplace benefits.
And finally, you overflow into taxable accounts to buy ultimate flexibility. Following this sequence means you are quietly constructing an absolute fortress of wealth, while the person next to you is frantically trying to guess what the next hot tech stock will be.
The entire philosophy is about doing the boring structural work first. So the fun, high upside investing actually has a foundation to stand on. And, there is one final profound mechanism hidden at the very end of the sequence that completely shifts the perspective on why we build this wealth in the first place.
Okay.
I'm listening. We just discussed how taxable accounts suffer from severe tax drag during your lifetime, but they possess a mathematical superpower that activates the moment you pass away, known as the step-up in basis.
Right. This is where the tax code gets incredibly interesting for estate planning.
To understand why this is a superpower, you have to understand how capital gains taxes work. If you buy a stock for $10 and over your lifetime it grows to $200, that $190 of growth is your capital gain.
And if you sell that stock while you're alive, the IRS taxes you heavily on that $190 of profit.
Exactly. But if you hold that stock in a taxable account until the day you die and leave it to your children, the IRS literally steps up the original basis of the stock. They legally adjust the original purchase price from $10 to the $200 it was worth on the day you passed away.
Meaning the $190 of profit that built up over your entire life is completely erased from the IRS ledgers.
Erased. Your kids can inherit that stock and sell it the very next day, and they will owe absolutely $0 in capital gains taxes.
The slate is wiped entirely clean.
Completely clean. So when you look at the sequence we just mapped out, the true end game of optimizing all these accounts isn't just about making sure you have enough money to play golf in your 60s.
It's bigger than that.
Much bigger. The ultimate mathematical benefit of reaching that final overflowing taxable account is the ability to transfer massive amounts of capital to the next generation completely tax-free. It is about creating a permanent generational shift in your family's financial trajectory.
Which brings us all the way back to the very first step. When you're scraping together that initial $1,000 emergency fund, it feels like a chore. It feels like boring car repair money.
It does.
But when you realize that $1,000 is literally the very first brick in a mathematical sequence designed to build a multi-generational financial dynasty, how does that change the way you feel about saving it today?